I think where most people get tripped up with Obsidian is it doesn't have a starting point or launching pad. It's a completely blank slate when you open it. And if you go online, you're going to get overwhelmed and inundated by other people's opinions. And this is no different. This is going to be my opinion of getting started with Obsidian. It's a combination of a productivity system and a knowledge management system. Has really unlocked a lot of my learning potential within inside Obsidian. I'm going to walk you through how I've set that up. So from the very, very beginning, not the settings page, open a new vault. We'll create a new vault. We'll name it Get Started. We'll click Create. It's going to want us to pick a location. I'm just going to put it on my desktop for now. And we'll click Create. Now, a common question that I get asked is, do you have one vault or do you have many vaults that you use inside here? Because it's tempting to want to separate out work and professional or professional career and personal in their own little vaults, but the maintenance of that would be insane. And there's actually a lot of value in having all your ideas in one place and your productivity system on one place, come to find out. So here we have a completely blank vault. The first thing that I would do is create the folder structure. So in my folder structure, I have a planner folder. I have a projects folder. I have a reference folder and a slipbox. So the reference and the slipbox are part of the knowledge management Zettelkasten method that I'm learning to adopt inside Obsidian, and the planner and project are more the productivity system. The project is really in the mix in between the two. It's kind of a hinge. So with that, we've got the folders set up. We'll explain them a little bit. The planner is going to hold all of your daily notes. So every day you're going to have a new note. And then they're also going to have different notes that allow you to, like if you were doing bullet journaling, you'd have a future log. There's another productivity system called analog, and so that's what I've kind of adopted in here. Is I use a next and someday bucket where I put tasks in, and I have a limit on those. You'll see that in a minute. The projects is going to be for the projects that all your knowledge management and your productivity system are going towards. For me, I'm focused on writing, and so my project notes are more book focused. They're kind of right now they're kind of evolving into a manuscript. Reference is where you're going to keep all of your source material in your literature notes, source notes, whatever you want to call them. So as you consume information and you take notes on them and you want to keep track of the sources, that's where you're going to go. Now, some people have moved this out into other systems like Zotero. I'm keeping it all in Obsidian for now, just for the sake of simplicity. Inside the reference, I do have two subfolders, people, and I believe attachments. Yeah. So and the reason for that is as you start to build out reference systems, you're inevitably going to create notes for people. So you can link like maybe the author of the book to several books that you've read, or people that you've had meetings with or whatnot, videos, etc. And then attachments, you can actually take screenshots and PDFs. You can put them straight into Obsidian. And so I put all those here just to create. The system administrator part of my brain just cannot handle a completely flat structure with no hierarchy of folders. I have to have some kind of organization, and that's a lot of why I do that. And then the slipbox is where all the permanent notes lay, and that is a flat structure in there, and they're organized by the prefix inside that, the Zettelkasten ID. I'll leave that for a different video. So now that we have the folder structure laid out, I'm going to walk through the plugins that I use. So if we go into settings, I use a couple core plugins. So I do use the tags pane. I use the daily note, and I think that's it from that. Yeah, I don't use the Zettelkasten prefixer because part of what makes the slipbox valuable is going through the thought process of finding where that knowledge lives in your knowledge base. So that's it for community plugin, or for core plugins. For community, we'll go ahead and turn off safe mode. We'll browse this. So I definitely use the calendar. What else do I use? I use the daily, well, already enabled. Yeah, I use the day planner. So we'll install, enable that. I think I need to enable the calendar. Okay, so calendar, day planner. And then the fun one, I use the emoji bar. I love using emojis in my writing. It just helps bring some visual emphasis to certain parts of the note, so it's not just a blank page of text. So that's a fun one to have. So now that's the plugins, you can see them enabled down here on the plugin options. Let's go to the daily note. And so the daily note you can see is it has a date format. So this is the name of the note. It's going to be year, month, day. There's this folder location. We want to put them in the planner. And then for the file type location, or the template, we could have a template. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's close out of the settings. And then we will notice that there's this new folder that was automatically created for us called Day Planner, and it's got a note in here. The Day Planner plugin does create its own folder structure. I don't use that, so I just delete this entire folder and the note that it goes in there. And we'll change the settings in a second. Well, apparently we've got to change the settings now. So hold that thought. Let's go to Day Planner. Change it to command mode. So there's a difference in this planner where you can either use file mode where it will automatically create the files for you and move day to day, or you can use a command mode where you tell it which note is the current day. And I choose to use that because I also combine this with the calendar, so I have this easy way to navigate all my days in a calendar view. And so I choose the command mode. So if I switch to command mode and we close the settings, now maybe I can delete this folder. Okay, now it's not recreating itself. So now back to the task at hand, we're going to create a template for the daily note. So we'll just name it template. I'll drag it into the planner. Now my day planner is set up as such. So I use Cal Newport's time blocking system, at least an adaptation of it in a digital version for this. So there's daily metrics. And this is a little thing I stole from a coworker whose name is Jess. And she puts a little graph, or is it a chart? Yeah, a bar chart here. So again, emojis kind of spice it up a little bit, spruce it up a little bit. So then all I do here is track the number of deep work hours, and then I have a task of shutdown. And so I like to separate everything out by a little heading, some underlines, so you can see how nice that looks. And then if we go down a little bit more, we'll have one for tasks. And if we wanted an emoji for this, it could be like a blue checklist maybe. And then we'll just populate the first checkbox. And then I have one for ideas. And ideas, of course, have to be a light bulb. Okay. So that's that. And then we have the schedule. Schedule, of course, is going to be a calendar. And then this is basically a task list. When we use a day plugin, it uses military time. So if we do 08 start day, that's going to show up on the right-hand side. And if we go 09 1. So you can start to pre-populate your day. I do this. I use the template to basically give the structure for my day. So my morning, I have my writing session. 8 a.m. is kind of like my deep work time for work. And then I kind of check in, and then I take lunch, and then the afternoon's more shallow work, depending on stuff like that. But I usually use the afternoons for conditional blocks. I go into that way more depth in a different video that will be linked at the end. But this is, basically our little template that we could pull from every single day and create things from. So now that we have this particular template, let's take a look at the calendar. So when we installed the calendar plugin, it added this nice little button up here. And so now we have this beautiful view of all of our days. So if we click Friday for today, it'll say that a note doesn't exist. Again, it's pulling that format. I click create. And it didn't pull in the template because we need to set that up. So let's go back to the daily note settings, find the template, and then we'll close the settings and let's just delete that day. We'll recreate it. And so now we have a template, and it looks, in a preview mode, it looks a lot better. You can split side by side. Again, Obsidian is just all marked down and has a nice preview plane. So now we have this. Now, the thing that I was missing before was this calendar, like daily calendar view. I've got this monthly, weekly calendar view. I want a daily screenshot of time so I don't have to open up Outlook. I kind of know all my meetings, and that is where the day planner comes into play. So the first thing that you have to do, I believe, is let's look at the day planner. I think you have to add the timeline. So here, day planner, show the day planner timeline. If you click that, you're going to get a new dialog box here. Now, because we're using the command mode, you have to attach the note per day to the timeline on the right. So if we hit Command P or Shift P in Windows and we do link, we'll see day planner, link today's day planner to current note. Now, I would suggest that you create a hotkey for this, but even this amount of keystrokes isn't insane. So now you can see that I have this nice view right here for my entire day. So that's the planner. And then the last thing that I would talk about is the next in someday. So I have a someday note that I move into the planner, and then I have a next note. And this is essentially just a list. So I have tasks. Let's make it into H1. And then I think I did I do a numbered list like this. Oop. And I cap it at 10. And the reason is there needs to be a limit here, because if you don't have a limit of these tasks, what you're going to do is you're just going to keep shoving things in the future and not ever do them. So I do this, I repeat the same thing for the someday. And it's just as self-explanatory as it seems. Like your next are going to be the next ones that you do. And so at the end of every day, if we look at the daily note, I have a shutdown ritual. And this shutdown ritual means that I go over my daily tasks and I pull from next and I pull from someday and I start to move them into my days as I'm doing that. Typically, I do that on a daily and then again on a weekly basis. And that's the planner. Now, the literature notes and the slip box are part of the smart notes philosophy or the knowledge management. And this is really all the structure that you need. Those notes are going to go straight into these folders. Literature notes are going to go into, and source notes are going to the reference system folder. And then all your permanent notes are going to go into the slip box. So that is, 0 to my current setup. Now, again, this is the setup. The practice and the daily effort required to maintain this is a completely separate thing that you'll have to dive into. Now, this is my setup. Please feel free to customize this, change your themes. But I figured it would be useful is if you had kind of a starting point of how to get started. So it's not just this blank canvas. You can kind of see where you can get started with it. So I hope that you found this to be useful, and thank you for watching.